evening and welcome to this edition of News Leader. I'm Andrew Todd. In tonight's news, the area received a little bit of snow over the week. Mayor Noes held his quarterly planning and coordinating committee meeting, and we continue with travel air history from the most recent Lunch and Learn. We'll have all these stories and more on tonight's News Leader. Get ready to make a splash for a cause. The Duck River Watershed Society invites you to its third annual spring cleanup event on Saturday, March 2nd from noon until 3 at the Fire Lake Public Use and Boat Ramp area in Manchester, Tennessee. Be part of the movement for sustainability, health, and education for the Duck River, America's most diverse waterway, home to over 650 aquatic species and water supply for more than 300,000 people. Mark your calendars and register to meet us at River Forge Road on March 2nd. Let's clean up, team up, and make a splash together.
Hi, my name is Ringo, here at Barkview Senior Living. They're human-friendly. That's why I love it here, and so does my senior human. When they want a bite, they get chef-prepared meals, and so do I. Movies in the theater, day trips, walks on the trail, and other senior humans to play with. The grass and the grounds are exquisite. It's everything my human needs to be healthy and active. Barkview. A Parkview Senior Living, for your dog's best friend, you.
Welcome back. Unless you've been out of town, you already know about the major winter storm hitting the Mid-South on Monday and blanketing the Tullahoma area with 6 to 8 inches of snow, causing hazardous travel conditions. Snowfall began on Sunday and intensified on Monday, creating dangerous travel conditions. Law enforcement advised against non-essential travel, and road clearing efforts were hindered by sub-20 degree temperatures, rendering SALT ineffective. With lows in the single digits and highs below 32, significant road improvement did not arrive until today. The National Weather Service issued a wind chill warning through Wednesday, urging precautions. Residents were advised to prevent frozen pipes by dripping faucets and opening cabinets. Tullahoma City schools closed all week, consuming built-in snow days. The Tullahoma City School Board of Education meeting was rescheduled, as well as the Tullahoma Planning Commission meeting, and middle school basketball tournaments were canceled. City officials reported challenges in road clearing with slush refreezing. Limited salt usage resumed on Wednesday when temperatures finally reached over 20 degrees. Garbage collection is impacted, with trucks not running until the end of the week, and city services and facilities, including parks and recreation, remain closed due to the weather. Coffee County government closed non-essential offices on Tuesday. Officials emphasized patience during challenging conditions, citing cold temperatures as a major concern. While conditions may improve with today's thaw, there are reports of a possibility of another snow system by week's end. Tullahoma City schools have announced that schools and Cool Kids will remain closed through Friday due to continuing freezing temperatures. TCS officials said, quote, "As below freezing temperatures continue, much of the snow and ice that has accumulated over the last couple of days has yet to melt. Therefore, Tullahoma City schools and Cool Kids will remain closed through Friday, January 19th. We look forward to welcoming students back on Monday, January the 22nd. So stay safe and warm this week and enjoy the weekend ahead," end quote. Additionally, the school board meeting has been rescheduled for next Tuesday, January the 23rd. The scheduled Tullahoma High School homecoming basketball games and ceremony have been moved. And after these messages, we'll be right back.
We teach Parkinson's patients how to move big and not let the Parkinson's slow them down. I've had patients I've treated in-house that could not even stand up, could not roll over in the bed, left the facility walking with a walker, have come back to us in outpatient and continued their big program and are now completely, handling life. The success of the program is just phenomenal.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Hi, I'm Fran Gray with Alzheimer's Tennessee. When you receive a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease for yourself or someone you love, please know that you do not have to go through this journey alone. Alzheimer's Tennessee is here for you to provide support and education, all the help you may need to get through this challenge. Our number is 931-434-2348. We encourage you to give us a call. We're here to help.
Welcome back. At last week's Tullahoma Mayor's Quarterly Planning and Coordinating Committee meeting, Tullahoma Utilities Authority's Director Brian Skelton addressed the gathering about TUA's current activities.
Brian Skelton with Tullahoma Utilities Authority. A couple of things, highlights. Our wastewater plant didn't have any violations in 2023, and that's not an easy thing to do. Treating water wastewater 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And our biggest enemy is rain. And it's not slow rain. It's even sometimes not even a lot of rain if it's slow enough. But rapid rains and large rains over multiple days saturates the water, and the wastewater lines have cracks, holes in them. Infiltration happens, and so we flow all this water to the wastewater plant. We hope that some of the improvements the city's working on with stormwater will help us on that. But that's our biggest challenge in the wastewater plant, is all the infiltration water that comes to the plant that we have to treat. We received final approval from the state of Tennessee on an Avoca Road wastewater project, which will allow us to be prepared to serve additional growth out in that area. The Wilson Avenue utility relocations for the road project will be starting soon. TUA is going to be very involved with that. The state did allow us to use a contractor that they're paying for to relocate electric, water, and wastewater lines and some fiber lines, but that project is very big and will involve, obviously, the state of Tennessee, but Public Works and the city of Tullahoma, ERPA, and everyone be involved with that. Our new EV chargers on Atlantic Street are installed as of last week, and they will be doing final commissioning on them next Wednesday. So after they commission them next Wednesday, they'll be open to charge for the public. Some people have asked, are these free? No, they're not free. They're just like going to a gas pump, except you're pumping electricity, and they're fast chargers, so they'll charge most cars, in an hour or so. Some of them a little less, some of them a little bit more. But this will allow people with EVs that travel from out of town to charge there. They can shop or eat downtown, go to the bookshelf, which is right adjacent to that. Go to Steve Worsham if you need some legal advice, and he's close by there also.
Come to the chamber.
Yeah, come to the chamber. That's exactly right. So those will be open. There'll be 2 of those. They're the only fast chargers in Tullahoma. There are some level 2 chargers. I think the Hampton Inn has some, and of course most people are going to be charging on level 2 chargers at their house. But when you travel, sometimes you need to top off your car or vehicle. That's what these are for. Final electric rates for 2023 have been released by TVA, and for residential customers, Tullahoma Utilities had the 10th lowest rate out of 153 utilities. So I think that's something that I'm proud of our board and our employees for doing that. And we like to say we do it, but we also provide the reliability too, because we're in the top quartile of reliability. But to be in the top 10 out of 153 is a pretty good accomplishment. Brian Code, who is our electric and fiber manager, has been with us 20 years as of this month. He's retiring next month. So if you see Brian, wish him well in the next month. And then LightTube for the year of 2023, we gained 77 net customers for the year. Growth in Tullahoma slowed down a little bit last year, but I think it's going to be the opposite direction of that this year. It's going to be pretty busy this year. But we now have a little over 4,600 customers.
Also at last week's Tullahoma Mayor's Quarterly Planning and Coordinating Committee meeting, Stephen Cook, Executive Director of the Coffee County Industrial Board, updated the group about the Industrial Board.
Stephen Cook, I serve as the Executive Director of the Industrial Board, Coffee County. Thank you for having me here. Thank you to some of my teammates across the way over there. I'll try not to steal the thunder of all of the folks that we work with so closely every day. First of all, I'll bring you up to speed on a couple of projects that had previously been announced. You may remember about 1.25 years ago, we broke ground on Dot Foods Distribution Center in the Manchester Industrial Park. They have been awarded a temporary permit of occupancy, so they're ready to go. They're not fully operational, but what this does mean is they're starting to internally mechanize, and people are going to work there every day. And so if you know anybody that's looking for positions, CDL jobs are open and available right now. Management positions as well, and they're starting to staff out their operations and floor personnel. We have announced CarMax is going to be locating an inventory management center at the Manchester Industrial Park as well. This is not a retail location. It is a reconditioning, remanufacturing, and private online auction location for auto dealers only. So don't expect to go buy your new car there, but anybody that's working in auto diesel repair, some of our high school and trade school programs out there are going to be producing a lot of students out there with skills and qualifications that are going to be needed. Really good paying jobs. We're excited about that company as well. MDS Foods and the Joint Industrial Park here in Tullahoma is continuing with their expansion project, a great company, family-owned organization. And you can really tell the heart they have for this community in every meeting we have with them. They're so concerned about the local folks that are working there and making sure that they provide high-quality opportunities for our citizens in Coffee County. We're also in the Joint Industrial Park, not project-related, but kind of future building and planning. We've undertaken some clearing activities for about 60 acres on the southern side of the park. Now that's going to be for adding to the farming contract and kind of letting that ground settle, but 10 years down the road or so, that's going to be another economic development site that we can use for job creation as we move forward. But to bury the lead and kind of bring it full circle, the most discussed item here at the Industrial Board has for a while now been the I-24 industrial site. Most of you know this as the mega site, about 2,000 acres. We are in the middle of closing on the property right now. The state of Tennessee is acquiring it. Doesn't necessarily mean we have a project ready to announce right now, but it does give us the lead time to start engineering reports and firming up some of our plans for utilities, schools, and other improvements needed to serve employers there in the years to come. So very exciting activities. A couple other things that are more board itself related. We are updating our strategic plan right now. Expect to adopt the final version of that at our next board meeting this coming week. That's building on some of the great work of the chairman at the other end of the table for the countywide strategic planning initiatives, and kind of just piggybacking off of their hard work. We're updating ours and making sure that we're prepared for the next few years. We're also filling our final staff position. We filled the economic development coordinator position with our group, so we're back up to a staff of 3, ready to serve all the needs of our industries and potential customers here in Coffee County. And as always, if you guys have any questions, you know where to find me.
More news is coming up in just a moment.
It's not invoice. It's not MSRP. It's not Christmas Day, although it may feel like it. It's the lowest prices in Middle Tennessee, period. It's a Stan McNabb Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or Stan McNabb Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac before these prices are gone forever.
Welcome back. In this week's episode of Coffee County Mayor Judd Matheny's Mayor's Message, Judd sat down with Coffee County Commissioner Joe Mike Hodge.
Hello, I'm Coffee County Mayor Judd Matheny, and welcome to another episode of the Mayor's Message. I have with me today another county commissioner who we've not had on yet, Mr. Joe Mike Hodge. Wonderful gentleman and a wonderful man and a great ally on the commission. We really appreciate him. He's great for Coffee County. And Joe Mike, I'd like for you to tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, maybe your background, what you like to do in the real world outside of politics, and why you enjoy politics and chose to serve, please.
All right. Well, Mayor, thanks for having me here today. I am originally from East Tennessee, Loudoun County, and I happened to married a Manchester girl back in 1978, and we settled here in '92. And both of us are educators. She's been in the Coffee County school system, and I've been teaching at Motlow for, both of us have retired now after about 20 years. She's got about 36 years. So after doing that, we had a desire to find another way to serve. And so actually I was approached to consider running as commissioner. And I thought, well, I'll step into the water and find out how it's going. So it's been a remarkable trip so far, and many citizens would be shocked at all the different things and regulations and different things, the education and all the stuff that it requires to do the commissioner's job. So I have a greater appreciation for that position.
And you do a great job, and folks know that I'm a technical person. I like to make sure all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted in county government to protect the citizens. Right. We can't have any loose ends, and you're the same way. You like to make sure everything's right and everything's done correctly, and I really appreciate that, and I think the citizens appreciate it. Everything we do is open. We know that everything we do is done with the absolute best intentions and done honestly, and I appreciate the way that you also operate. Up until recently, you were a member of several committees. Chairman Claude Morris passed away, if you'll remember, late in 2023. and you are now the chairman of his committee.
That's correct.
And why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about that committee and what you do, please?
Again, yes, I was vice chairman of the legislative committee, and we are tasked with kind of the clearinghouse for all the other committees according to our responsibilities, the responsibilities paper that shows us the outlines for our committee. And Claude Morris was a great man, big shoes to step into. So I have yet to prove myself capable of that, but we're doing our best effort to do that.
It's a very important committee. The legislative committee makes sure that, as the name says, that everything is ready to properly be presented to the county commission for ratification so that everything's legal and lawful. Also, any resolutions we would send to the state, any private acts that we might do that would impact Coffee County would go through that committee. And it's also, there's a great brain trust there in legislative, so we also lean on them with some other things like policies and procedures to make sure that what policies and procedures does is also going to be in line with legislative before it gets there, so it doesn't have to be sent back. So it's very intricate work. Claude was great at that. Claude was a very detail-oriented individual with a great experience, as are you. And you're going to do just great in that position. And you're already taking on some pretty big tasks, and we've talked about some things in store for 2024 that need to be done in Coffee County with regards to pay issues and pay scales and how we're going to get something a little bit more standardized. And so we're going to probably lean on you heavily for that again. In the real world, outside of politics, what do you enjoy doing?
Well, my first joy is music. And as a music teacher, I was given opportunity in some local churches to serve as worship leaders. And presently, we are at Trinity Baptist Church, and if I can mention that.
Sure,
and we've served at other churches and have found great joy in doing that. Kind of a hobby, which is I actually make a living at, is repairing automobiles, computer technologies and control systems for cars. So we've been doing that since '03, and we have about 300 customers. And so we're able to put more time into that now that we're retired from teaching. So
a primary problem that you would, not that this is a commercial or anything, we're talking about Joe Mike, but I mean, a mechanical thing is one issue, a computer issue is another issue, correct? So you're more diagnostic,
yes,
but also repair those computer systems inside the vehicles. Very specialized job that obviously the newer mechanics get into, but I know some of my older mechanics have had some struggling with that because of the newer cars and the way they're put together, but you've got a rich background in that. Motlow kind of indirectly brought he and I together, at least where we got to know each other a little bit. Years ago when I used to do some speaking in Warren County at Motlow, and we had a mutual friend, Colonel Thomas Vaughn, that knew both of us well.
Good guy.
That was pretty cool, it was. And we're both great dog lovers, and unfortunately we both lost two of our wonderful, he lost his Great Dane, and I lost my Shepherd within about 5 days of each other in early December. But we're going to build a great animal shelter in the memory of those guys and to serve the other animals in this community. So, man, I cannot thank you enough for serving. Sometimes it's a thankless job. Sometimes you see the worst things, but you also see the best things.
That's right.
And the job is as much as you put into it. And the more you put into it, the more you can get reward for it. So is there any, of course you've got an email, and we will put your email up, Joe Mike's government email up here on the graphics. Philip will put it up for us if anybody would like to contact him. And tell them real quick where your district is.
I'm District 4.
Which is?
That is out toward the Warren County line on Highway 55. And encompasses the ground over to Highway 53.
Okay.
And I serve with the other commissioner out there, Tim Brown.
Tim Brown. You can go to the Coffee County, Tennessee's website, and you can. We have a link to all the maps, and you can see some of Joe Mike's information. You can also see his district as well as the entire county commission. And as always, if you need anything, you need to get a hold of Joe, you can call me at my office and talk to Sam or Connie also, 931-723-5100. And Joe Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, sir. See you next week on the Mayor's Message.
We'll be right back after these commercials.
We tend to lose our motivation when we have something that's chronic, but you've got to do what you can early on as you can. After I'd exercise like that, I would have a lot of energy to do housework or whatever I needed. I would recommend it highly to anyone at any degree of Parkinson.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Welcome back. We now return to the most recent Lunch and Learn about Beechcraft presented by Sharon Repke. In this segment, we learn about the early history of Travel Air.
The first Travel Air is one of the exhibits in our museum. We have serial number 1. And when I started working at the museum, I made a comment to someone that it looked like it was built in the garage out of leftover parts. And they told me it really kind of was, that they didn't have airplane manufacturing companies then, and they didn't have airplane parts. They just took whatever they had. I do believe somebody mentioned that a bicycle chain was in there somewhere, so that's kind of interesting. So these 3 guys started that company, and this is Olive Ann Beach, Olive Ann Meller Beach. She was born on September 25th in Waverly, Kansas, and she was recognized early on for her monetary skills. At the age of 7, she had her own checkbook. Now remember, this is in the early 1900s. She had her own checkbook. At the age of 11, she was taking care of her family's finances and running their business in the home. She did go to business school, and when she graduated, she went to work for a company in Wichita. At 18, she was working for, I'm not even sure what the company was, but she was making $18 per week at her job. And she went to a bank and convinced them to give her a loan of $1,000. Now, she told them it was just for necessary things that she needed to buy, but what she did was she borrowed the $1,000, took it to another bank and put it in savings for a couple months, went back and paid her loan off, and therefore she established herself a credit rating at a very early age. Her boss at the company she was working at passed away, and so her job ended. And Clyde Cessna hired her at Travel Air in 1925. She was a secretary and bookkeeper for Travel Air, and she knew nothing about aviation. She had someone draw her a diagram of an aircraft and label the parts, and she kept that with her so that when she wrote letters, she didn't sound like she didn't know anything. She never did learn to fly. Her comment, somebody asked her why she didn't learn to fly. She goes, "Why do I need to fly? I have staff to do that for me." And obviously she married Walter Beach, and he could fly her anywhere she wanted to go. She was the only female employed in a business that had 12 males. And male chauvinism was a little bit rampant back then. When she was hired, she had to deal with Walter. He was a little bit of a chauvinist, and when he found out she'd been hired, he looked her up and down and looked at her legs and made the comment, "You'll do." And so they had a date. Clyde Cessna got Walter to ask her out. And I'm going to read a little bit. This is from a book called The Barnstormer and the Lady. We had this for sale in the gift shop until we ran out. This book is out of print. I don't know if the library here has a copy, but you can Google it and see if you can find someplace that might be selling used books if you're interested. It's a great book. It was written with Marilyn Oliver helped the author write this book, and it's got lots of cool stuff in it. And I'm just going to read this to you. It says, Walter Beach was a rascal, albeit a charming one. He was a barnstorming pilot with a taste for good liquor and an eye for a well-turned ankle. He loved speed and courted risk. He tested people and all but invited trouble. Olive Ann Meller was a reserved, pretty, small-town girl. She had blue eyes that flashed and a fashion model figure. "You've got pretty good-looking legs," Walter informed her on her first day as secretary and office manager of an early airplane maker, of which he was co-founder, Travel Air Manufacturing Company. "I guess you'll do." They made an improbable pair when, according to a Beach family story, Walter invited Olive Ann for a ride in his airplane. Warily but gamely, for she never flinched from a challenge, she accepted. She had only one condition: no stunt flying, which, as it turned out, was exactly what Walter had in mind. The open cockpit airplane soared into the limitless Kansas sky above Wichita, with Walter at the controls and Olive Ann sitting directly behind him. Below, the hedgerows and checkerboard fields grew smaller and smaller as the engine roared and the wind whistled around the struts. When Walter turned the plane upside down, the earth and sky changed places as the airplane rolled over. After it had righted itself, he triumphantly looked back to see how Olive Ann was dealing with his little surprise. She wasn't there. Her seat was empty. His eldest daughter, Suzanne Warner, picks up the story as told to her much later by Olive Ann at this point. So he starts flying low over the area. He looks and sees no girl, no sign of her. Dad goes back and goes out with friends to find Olive Ann. After searching until dark, he has to go and tell Frank and Susanna Miller, her parents in Wichita, that not only had he lost their daughter, but he can't find her. He knocks on the door, and Mother opens it. That's Mrs. Beach, Olive Ann. Olive Ann opened the door. She had simply waited out of sight, low in a partly covered cockpit space, until Walter and his friends left. Then she had gone home. Can you imagine the look on his face when he opened that door?
Stay with us. We'll have your weather forecast right after these messages.
Parkview Senior Living, active, independent senior living at its finest.
There's a lot of talk about the risks associated with the COVID-19 vaccine, but the reality is, it's safer than going for a run. Give it a shot. Find a free appointment today at covid19.tn.gov.
Welcome back. We'll take a look at your weather forecast at this time, starting with your weather history on this date. Our record high was in 1907 at 75 degrees. The record low was in 1994 at -1 degrees. Average high for this day is 48 and the average low is 29. Freezing rain expected for tonight with a low of 24. Mostly cloudy for Friday with a high of 30 and a low of 6. Mostly sunny skies for Saturday with a high of only 19 and a low of 4. Sunny skies expected for Sunday with a high of 35 and a low of 20. Mostly sunny skies with a high of 46. Boy, that sounds good. And a low of 34. And rain expected for Tuesday with a high of 52 and a low of 44. And that's our News Leader report for this evening. We invite you to join us each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday evenings at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. for News Leader. Stay safe. Have a great evening.